Welcome, my friends. Today, I want to take you on a special journey, one that might change how you think about life, money, and success. What I'm about to share isn't just a story, it's a powerful lesson that has changed millions of lives around the world, including my own. We're talking about Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of the most inspiring books ever written about achieving financial freedom. Imagine this. You're a young boy or girl watching the adults in your life. One person says, study hard, get a good job, and save money. Another says, learn how money works, make it work for you, and build wealth. Two very different ideas. Which one would you follow? This was the situation for Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He had two father figures who taught him completely opposite lessons. He called them his poor dad and his rich dad. Poor dad was his real father, a well-educated man with a stable job as a teacher. He believed that success came from studying hard, getting good grades, and climbing the career ladder. But even with his education, he struggled financially. He lived paycheck to paycheck, always worrying about bills and believing that talking about money was rude. Rich Dad, on the other hand, wasn't highly educated. He didn't have a fancy degree or a government job, but he had something much more important: financial knowledge. He owned businesses, made investments, and believed that learning about money was even more important than going to school. He used to say, "You don't work for money, you make money work for you." Now imagine young Robert standing between these two men. Both were giving him advice, but their messages were completely different. Poor Dad said, get a good job for security. Rich Dad said, create jobs for others. Poor Dad said, money is the root of all evil. Rich Dad said, the lack of money is the root of all evil. At first, Robert was confused. He loved both of them, but he noticed something. Poor Dad, though smart, was always stressed about money. Rich Dad, even without much education, was calm and confident about his future. One day, Robert asked Rich Dad, "Why are you so confident about money?" Rich Dad smiled and said, "Because I understand how it works. Most people don't. They spend their whole lives working for money, but they never learn how to make money work for them." That one sentence changed Robert's life. It planted a seed of curiosity in his mind. He decided to learn from Rich Dad, to understand his secrets and follow his path. Let's pause for a moment and think about this. Isn't that what happens to most of us? We grow up being told to go to school, get a job, and save for retirement. But whoever teaches us how to handle money, how to grow it, how to escape the endless cycle of working just to pay bills, your mindset about money shapes your future. If you see money as something bad or scary, you'll always struggle with it. But if you see it as a tool, something you can use, control, and grow, you'll open the door to real freedom and opportunity. Now imagine you stand at a crossroads. One path leads to financial struggle, the other to financial freedom. Which one would you choose? That's what Robert wanted to find out. As Rich Dad continued teaching him, every conversation opened Robert's eyes wider. One day, Rich Dad said something unforgettable. The rich don't work for money. Robert was confused. What do you mean? Isn't money the reason people work? Rich Dad smiled. No, Robert. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. That's the difference. Rich Dad then explained what he called the rat race. He said, when you're young, you go to school. You're told to study hard so you can get a good job. Once you get that job, you earn money and buy things, a house, a car, maybe a phone. But those things come with bills, loans, and taxes. So you work even harder to pay for them, and it never ends. He added, people think they're working for financial security, but really, they're working for their boss, the government, and the bank. The harder they work, the deeper they fall into this cycle. Rich Dad gave an example. Imagine a man named John. He earns $3,000 a month. When he gets a raise to $4,000, what does he do? He buys a bigger house, a better car, or a new gadget. His expenses grow with his income, so he never really gets ahead. He just keeps working harder to keep up. That's the trap of the rat race. Then Rich Dad asked Robert, "Do you know what financial freedom means?" Robert shook his head. Rich Dad explained, "Financial freedom means having enough income from your assets, from things you own, to cover your expenses. When you reach that point, you don't have to work unless you want to. Your money works for you." He continued, "People think being rich means having a high-paying job, but even someone with a big salary can be broke if their expenses are high. True wealth comes from owning assets that make you money, not from earning a paycheck." Rich Dad then gave Robert a simple but life-changing lesson: the difference between assets and liabilities. An asset, he said, puts money into your pocket even when you're not working. A liability takes money out of your pocket. He gave two examples. Case one: a young man saves $10,000 and buys a car. The car needs fuel, maintenance, and insurance. Over time, it loses value. That's a liability. It costs him money. Case two: another man saves $10,000 and buys a small piece of land. He rents it out and earns $200 a month. The land increases in value over time. That's an asset. It puts money into his pocket. Robert was amazed. He realized how often people mistake liabilities for assets. A car, a house, or expensive clothes may look like wealth, but they don't make money. They cost money. The rich invest their money in things that make more money for them: businesses, real estate, stocks, or even education to improve their skills. These investments create passive income, money that keeps coming in even when they're not working. Once they have enough assets, they can enjoy luxuries without worrying about their finances. To make this clearer, Rich Dad gave Robert another example. Imagine two families who both earn $5,000 a month. Family A spends all their money on rent, food, and entertainment. At the end of the month, nothing is left. Family B, however, spends $4,000 and invests $1,000 in stocks. Over time, their investments grow and they start earning $500 a month from dividends. Eventually, their passive income becomes enough to cover their expenses. Family B reaches financial freedom, while Family A stays trapped in the rat race. Robert was beginning to understand that wealth wasn't about how much you earned, it was about how you managed what you had. Rich Dad explained that most people think, "I can't afford it," while the rich think, "How can I afford it?" This simple change in mindset makes a huge difference. When you say, "I can't afford it," your brain shuts down. But when you ask, "How can I afford it?" your mind starts looking for creative solutions. To train this way of thinking, Rich Dad gave Robert a challenge. Whenever you want something but feel like you can't afford it, write down 3 ways you could make it possible. Maybe you can cut unnecessary expenses, start a small side business, or learn a new skill that helps you earn more. This practice teaches your mind to think like the rich, to focus on possibilities instead of limitations. Still, Robert was nervous about investing. He asked, "What if I lose money?" Rich Dad smiled and said, "That's the difference between the rich and the poor. The poor are afraid of losing money, so they never take risks. The rich understand that failure is part of learning. If you make a mistake, don't quit. Learn and try again." Then Rich Dad shared a simple plan for building wealth, even if you don't have much to start with. Step 1: track your expenses. Write down everything you spend money on for 1 month and see where you can cut unnecessary costs. Step 2: start small. Begin with small investments like savings accounts or beginner-friendly stocks. Step 3, learn every day. Read books, attend seminars, and find mentors who understand money. Step 4, build assets. Focus on buying assets first, things that make money, like rental properties or small businesses, before spending on luxuries. Step 5, reinvest your profits. Don't spend the money your assets earn, reinvest it to grow your wealth faster. As Robert followed this advice, his mindset started to change. He stopped seeing money as something to spend right away and began to see it as a tool that could create more opportunities and freedom. Slowly, his thinking shifted from scarcity to abundance. Then, one day, Rich Dad said something that surprised Robert. To become truly wealthy, you must first learn to control your emotions. Robert was puzzled. What do emotions have to do with money? He asked. Rich Dad smiled. Everything, he replied. Most people let fear and greed control their financial decisions, and that's why they stay poor. He explained that fear keeps people stuck. Fear of not having enough money makes them stay in jobs they dislike. They settle for a paycheck instead of taking risks to create wealth. This fear traps them in the rat race. Many people dream of starting a business but never do it because they're afraid of losing money or being judged. They choose safety over growth and remain stuck. The rich feel fear too, Rich Dad said, but they don't let it stop them. They act anyway. Success comes from moving forward even when you're afraid. Then he talked about greed. Greed makes people think that more money or more things will make them happy. They say, if I buy this car, I'll feel successful, or if I own a big house, people will respect me. But these things only bring temporary pleasure and often more expenses and stress. True happiness, Rich Dad said, doesn't come from owning things. It comes from freedom. Freedom to do what you love and spend time with people who matter. That kind of freedom comes from building assets, not from spending money you don't have. He continued, if you want to control your emotions, you need knowledge. Most people are afraid of money simply because they don't understand it. They don't know how to invest, so they avoid it. They don't know how taxes work, so they overpay. They don't know how to grow wealth, so they stay poor. Rich Dad encouraged Robert to start learning about 3 key areas. 1, investments. Understand how stocks, real estate, and businesses grow money. 2, taxes. Learn how the rich legally pay less by using smart financial strategies. 3, the market. Study how buying and selling works and how timing can make a difference. The more you know, he said, the less afraid you'll be. Knowledge gives you power over fear. Finally, Rich Dad shared one of his most powerful lessons: change the way you see money. Stop thinking like a consumer, he told Robert. Start thinking like an investor. He gave a simple example. Imagine you earn $1,000. A consumer spends their money on clothes, gadgets, or entertainment. But an investor asks, how can I use this $1,000 to make more money? They might buy stocks, start a small business, or invest in a course to learn new skills. Over time, the investor's money grows, while the consumer's money disappears. Rich Dad taught Robert to see opportunities that others overlook. He said most people don't recognize chances to grow because they're too busy working or spending. The rich, however, are always looking for ways to make their money grow. He gave Robert a simple exercise. When you walk down the street, don't just look at shops. Ask yourself, how could I own one of these? What does this business need to succeed? Train your mind to think like an owner, not just a customer. Robert began practicing this and soon saw opportunities everywhere. A small cafe for sale, an old house that could be renovated and rented out, or even a website idea that could grow into a business. But as he started applying these lessons, people around him doubted him. Some said, "You're too young to invest," or "It's too risky." Even his poor dad advised him to play it safe and focus on a stable job. Rich Dad told him, "People will always criticize what they don't understand. They speak from their own fears, not yours. If you listen to them, you'll end up like them, stuck in the rat race." He encouraged Robert to stay focused and surround himself with people who believed in growth and success. He also reminded Robert that you don't have to start big. Small wins are the best way to build confidence. He shared a story about a young woman who had only $50 to invest. Instead of waiting to save more, she began buying small shares of companies. Over time, her investments grew and her confidence increased. Rich Dad said, "Success is built step by step. Each small win gives you the courage to go further." He also talked about the power of habits. "Your habits shape your future," he told Robert. "If you save and invest a little every month, it will grow. But if you spend everything you earn, you'll never move forward." He gave two key habits. One, pay yourself first. Always set aside a portion of your income for savings or investments before paying bills. Two, track your progress. Keep a journal of your financial journey. Seeing your growth will motivate you to continue. Rich Dad warned about impatience. Most people quit because they don't see quick results. They expect to get rich overnight, but wealth takes time, patience, and discipline. When you plant a seed, you don't see fruit right away. You water it, protect it, and wait. In time, it becomes a strong tree that feeds you for years. He reminded Robert that money is just a tool, it's not the goal. The true goal is freedom. The freedom to live life on your own terms, follow your passions, and help others. Once you achieve that, you'll understand what being rich truly means. Robert left that lesson feeling inspired and determined to escape the rat race, build assets, and create the life he dreamed of. One day, after many lessons, Rich Dad said, "Now you're ready for the most important truth. Success is not about luck or talent. It's about mindset, hard work, and action." He explained, "Most people dream of being rich, but very few act on it. They wait for the perfect time or the perfect opportunity, but there's no perfect time. The best time to start is now." To show this, he shared a story about two friends. One said, "I'll start saving and investing when I earn more." The other started right away, saving just $10 a week. 10 years later, the one who started small had built a solid foundation while the other was still waiting. "Opportunities are everywhere," said Rich Dad, "but only those who act see results. Don't wait until you're ready. Start with what you have." He also reminded Robert that failure isn't the opposite of success, it's part of it. Every successful person has failed many times. He told a story about a businessman who failed 5 times before building a company that changed his life. If he had quit after his first failure, Rich Dad said, he would have never succeeded. Discipline, he explained, is another secret to financial freedom. It's easy to spend money, but it takes discipline to save and invest. Always pay yourself first. Even if you have bills or debts, save a portion of your income before spending on anything else. This habit will make you creative, resourceful, and strong. Rich Dad noticed that many people let fear and doubt control them. "Your thoughts shape your reality," he said. "If you focus on fear, you'll find reasons to fail. But if you focus on your dreams, you'll find ways to succeed." Before their lessons ended, Rich Dad shared one last powerful truth. The richest people are those who give back. Robert was surprised. "How does giving make you richer?" he asked. Rich Dad smiled. "When you give, you create value. Whether it's sharing knowledge, mentoring others, or donating to good causes, giving multiplies your success. It builds connections, opens doors, and brings true happiness." He told Robert about a wealthy man who started a scholarship fund for poor students. That act of kindness changed many lives, and it also brought the man joy, respect, and new opportunities. Rich Dad's final advice was simple but unforgettable. The moment you stop learning, you stop growing. Years later, Robert looked back and realized how deeply those lessons had changed him. He had built wealth, not just in money, but in freedom, confidence, and the ability to help others. He shared his message with the world. No matter where you start, you have the power to change your future. What matters most is your mindset and your willingness to take action. Wealth is not just about money, it's about creating a meaningful, free, and fulfilling life. So remember, your journey to financial freedom begins today. Start small, stay consistent, learn from your mistakes, dream big, and never give up. The only limit to your success is the one you place on yourself. The world is full of opportunities, waiting for you to take the first step. Your time is now. Make it count.